Have you ever been trapped inside your own head? Not fighting the world, but your own thoughts, those endless what-ifs that never let you rest. Overthinking doesn't roar like thunder or shatter windows like a storm. It's silent, invisible, and slow, but it can destroy your peace, piece by piece. You replay that one mistake, again and again. The word you shouldn't have said, the chance you didn't take. You imagine every possible failure before it even happens, until fear becomes more real than reality itself. And the cruel part, in this prison of overthinking you are both the prisoner and the guard. Once upon a time, in a quiet coastal village, there lived a fisherman named Bill. He was skilled, hardworking, and known for catching the freshest fish in the region. But Bilal had a secret struggle. He thought too much. Each morning, while other fishermen pushed their boats out to sea, Bilal sat alone on the shore, just staring at the horizon. His mind was a storm of what-ifs. What if there's a storm today? What if my boat breaks? What if I sail for hours and catch nothing? What if I get lost and no one finds me? By the time his mind finished spinning its web of fear, the day was already gone. He watched as the others returned, their boats filled with shining fish, their faces glowing with laughter. Bilal would smile faintly, but deep inside, he felt heavy, not with failure, but with thoughts that never turned into action. One morning, an old sailor named Tobias noticed Bilal sitting there again, unmoving. Tobias had spent a lifetime reading the sea and people's hearts. He walked up to Bilal and asked, "Why do you sit here, my boy? The tide is perfect, the wind gentle, the fish are waiting." Bilal sighed, his eyes still on the water. What if something goes wrong? What if the waves grow wild, or the fish aren't there, or I get lost? Tobias smiled, his weathered face calm like the sea after a rain. He pointed toward a small bird flying low over the waves. "Do you see that bird? It doesn't know if it will find food today, but it flies anyway, because the only way to find out is to try." Those words echoed in Bilal's mind like a bell. That day, for the first time in weeks, he pushed his boat into the water. The sea was calm, the sun was warm, and by sunset his boat overflowed with fish for the first time in years. Bilal smiled from his heart. He had conquered not the sea, but his own fear. But old habits die hard. A few weeks later, dark clouds gathered on the horizon. The other fishermen prepared their boats carefully, ready to face the challenge. But Bilal froze again, his old thoughts returning like ghosts. What if the storm sinks me? What if I never come back? Tobias approached him quietly. "Bilal," he said, "caution is wise, but fear is heavy. Learn the difference." Bilal stayed ashore that day. The storm came, but it was mild. By evening, the others returned safely, smiling and soaked but alive. Bilal felt something inside him shift again. He realized that his fears were often greater than the dangers themselves. Months passed. The village announced a grand fishing festival. Whoever caught the biggest fish would win a great reward. Bilal wanted to join, but his mind began whispering again. What if I fail in front of everyone? What if they laugh at me? What if I embarrass myself? He almost gave up until Tobias placed a hand on his shoulder and said, "Bilal, the fear of failure is the anchor that keeps many ships tied to the shore. Untie yourself." Bilal closed his eyes, took a deep breath and decided to go. That day, the sea was rough, the waves restless. His small boat rocked as he struggled to hold the oars. Hours passed, and he caught nothing. His mind screamed at him to return, but his heart whispered, "Stay." And then, in the final hour, his net pulled tight, heavier than ever before. He had caught the largest fish of his life. When he returned, the crowd cheered. Children ran beside his boat, and for the first time Bilal didn't doubt himself. He realized the cheers didn't just silence the crowd, they silenced his overthinking. One evening, Tobias took Bilal to a high cliff overlooking the golden sea at sunset. The air was quiet except for the sound of the waves below. "Bilal," Tobias said, "your mind is like this sea. When the waves are wild, you can't see into it clearly. Calm the waves and you will see the bottom." Bilal nodded slowly. From that day forward, he made a small promise to himself. Before every decision, he would take a deep breath, count to 10, and ask, "Is this thought protecting me or stopping me?" The answer changed everything. He sailed more often, feared less, and laughed more. He began teaching younger fishermen not just how to catch fish, but how to calm their minds. He would tell them, "Overthinking is like rocking in a chair. It keeps you busy but takes you nowhere. My friend, the sea will always have waves, the sky will always have clouds, and life will always carry uncertainty. But if you keep waiting for perfect conditions, you'll spend your whole life on the shore dreaming instead of living." Most of the storms we fear exist only inside our minds, and the waves we run from are often smaller than they seem. So take the oar, push the boat. Trust yourself, because sometimes the sea you fear is the same sea that will carry you to your destiny. Remember, you can't control the waves, but you can learn to sail through them. Calm your thoughts, and the path will appear. If this story touched you, share it with someone who thinks too much, who worries too deeply, who forgets that peace is found not in control but in trust. And if you'd like more stories like this, please subscribe, because the greatest journey you'll ever take is not across the sea, but within your own mind. Thanks for watching.